It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another episode of the Real Estate Breakfast, available on iHeartRadio every morning and also on Spotify and Apple and wherever you get your good podcast from. Well, I hope your weekend achieved the desired outcome and the result if you were negotiating in and around real estate with property. It looked like another busy couple of days out there, and I guess why wouldn't it be with the big push right now on for Christmas, and it is getting closer with just 27 days. That's right, just 27 days left before you are diving into your Christmas dinner. And today is Monday. It is the 28th day for November for 2022. And coming up, we're going to be talking about some data released by PropTrack, which makes for some pretty interesting reading, and we'll be covering the data across today and tomorrow. This morning we're going to catch up with Brandon Pilgrim from Norwood, and we're also talking with Binnie Jaura from Ray White. So that is all coming up next.
We are just as addicted to property as you are. Every weekday morning from 6:30. It's your Real Estate Podcast for breakfast.
And if you are celebrating your birthday for November the 28th, happy birthday. You're celebrating alongside Ed Harris, the actor from Westworld, of course, turning 71 today. Jon Stewart, the American comedian, he is turning 60. And somebody who would have been celebrating her birthday, Anna Nicole Smith, a bit of a tragic story really to her life, but she died back in 2007, aged just 39.
We talk with leading property commentators with analysis, predictions, forecasts, and what's trending every morning from 6:30. It's the Main Centre Forecast with PRD, selling smarter every day.
And let's check on your weather for this Monday morning. First we go to Sydney, expecting 1 or 2 showers today, a high of 23 degrees. Should be partly cloudy but also dry in Melbourne with 19. In Brisbane, expecting 32 degrees and showers with a possible storm. And the place to be again is in Perth. Good morning to you, expecting the sunshine with blue skies and 31 degrees.
It's your weekday real estate breakfast with news, interviews and predictions every morning on the Real Estate Podcast.
Well, around the country, we know that property prices have fallen 3.53% from their peak back in March, while across the combined capital cities, they are now down by 4.38%. Now, the sharpest declines have been seen in Sydney, with prices slumping to 6.28% from their peak, followed by Melbourne with a 4.75 fall from its peak. PropTrack has new data out a few days ago. Yes, the falls are there in the market for us to see, but the falls are well below the huge gains recorded since the start of the pandemic, PropTrack is reporting. For example, the suburb of Austral in Sydney's southwest, where the current median house price is just over $1 million, that same suburb is 142% higher than at the start of the pandemic. You can see what I mean. And there's also good news for South Australia. So let's bring in Brandon Pilgrim from Ray White in Norwood there. And good morning, Brandon. Welcome to the Real Estate Breakfast.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Hey, I believe that this is your first time on a podcast.
Yeah, first time, so we'll see how we go.
How's your year been, Brandon? Pretty busy?
It has been busy, especially the start of the year. The Adelaide market probably saw its peak in probably the end of the first quarter, I reckon. So we were still flying then, and properties were the market was extremely competitive. We've definitely seen it come off a little bit now, but still plenty of buyer activity out there at the moment.
Well, that's good, isn't it? And Adelaide gets a mention in the PropTrack data with the prestigious suburb of Beaumont, where the median house price climbed by 82% to 1.64 million. And one of the reasons for the growth is the big blocks with quality homes sitting on them. 82%, it's not bad, Brandon.
Yeah, it's huge. Just one of those areas, I think, especially through COVID, that everyone wanted to get back into those big family homes that had a little bit more space, and Beaumont's definitely one of those suburbs that has those properties available.
Yes, and I understand that Beaumont is sitting there perched on the Adelaide foothills with panoramic views across the city.
Yeah, it does give a real mixed bag of property. It's got, the hills views because it is on the foothills of the Adelaide Hills, so overlooking the city and coastal views and everything. But you also do get the odd flat block here as well. So a few developers are trying to get in there and subdivide some blocks, build a few. So it's really a suburb that is very sought after for a lot of reasons.
So let's have a look at your auctions there in Adelaide. How have you been going? Bidder numbers, clearance rates and that sort of thing?
Yeah, well, at the start of the year, I think all across Adelaide, the clearance rates were as high as 90% every weekend. Ray White reports all that data, so we were pretty over all the clearance rates for the whole year, and it's dropped off probably back to those 65 to 70% most weekends now, but it's still performing really well. And if we compare that to 3-4 years ago, it's definitely still well above where it was. I think the marketplace, the buyers are getting more comfortable with the auction process now because it was such a dominant method through the last 3 years, and still seem to be performing really well that way.
Okay, and what about dealing with people scrambling, trying to lock in their financing at the moment amongst these rate rises?
Yeah, we've definitely seen the top end of the market drop off a little bit over the last probably 3 to 4 months in particular. The lower end areas of Adelaide still seem to be performing probably a bit higher standard to what we're probably seeing in the high end eastern suburbs now. Probably that north of 2 million bracket, there is a lot less buyer numbers in that sort of buyer pool now. As to the rest of the market, open homes and everything, at the more affordable level, we seem to be still seeing good numbers.
Okay, and finally, with the running up to Christmas time, how is your end of year looking with your vendors coming to market?
It's actually quite funny. We had a bit of a slow start to spring, and what I sort of spoke about with there was a few months there where everyone was a bit cautious, weren't really sure whether they wanted to go to the market. The weather's been absolutely horrible here in Adelaide, so I think everyone was waiting for those beautiful spring months to kick in because it is a very seasonal state, Adelaide, where people seem to wait till those spring months to get their properties on the market. That spring hasn't really come yet here in Adelaide. We're having a nice day today, but it's been absolutely horrible the last couple of months. So everyone has just really decided to get their property on the market late. So we've had a huge month of launching property in November. We've got auctions nearly up until the absolute latest dates we can before Christmas. It's going to be a busy finish, but hopefully a strong finish.
All right. Well, look, thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And another area with strong demand with properties on a larger site is Box Hill in the city's west. Now, the median house price of 1.27 million is now 125% higher than at the start of COVID. It is not bad. I think we should bring in selling agent Binnie Jaura from Ray White. And a very good morning to you, Binnie. Welcome to the Real Estate Podcast.
Good morning, Craig. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
What's going on there in Box Hill? Sounds like the place to be, eh? That's a pretty healthy increase.
Yeah, definitely. Just after COVID, we just had a massive growth in the area. In the land prices are just gone like double, the 300 square meters used to sell for 500. On the one instance, it went nearly 880 to 900,000. And then the market is now it's stabilizing, just adjusting that growth, because it just went too quick.
And tell us what's going on there with first home buyers chasing a bit of a bargain in Box Hill, are they?
Definitely, we see a good crowd on open homes. Around 40% of that crowd is first-time home buyers, and this new stamp duty thing will definitely help them to getting into the market. The house prices were for 250 square meter double-story house was selling for 750 or so. They went up to 1.1, and we see the first-time home buyers, they are spending over $1 million, $1.1 million for their first homes in these days, instead of 750.
Okay, they've really got no choice, I guess, if they want to get into the market. Binnie, what's happening with your stock levels at the moment? Because obviously there is some lower stock levels around the country. How are you finding it where you are?
Definitely, the stock levels are low than last year. Now the market is stabilizing a bit and things are looking strong moving towards 2023. And we already working on the stock levels to bring the confidence in the market. Once the vendors have a confidence, the market is stabilizing, and definitely there will be more stock levels coming in next year,
Yeah, well, we talked to a lot of agents around the country. They're telling me that it's a lot harder right now selling real estate. How are you finding it?
Definitely. It is a harder time for real estate agents to sell the properties around, definitely because the pricing fluctuating a lot. Same thing up here, but you need to work very hard to get the results driven for our vendors now,
And a busy time between now and run-up time for Christmas?
Definitely. We are very, very busy at the minute. Got multiple listings to work on, and this lot of groundwork has gone up. We make at least 600-700 calls a day to the buyers to bring them to the open homes.
Wow, that's a lot of calls, isn't it? Yeah, you couldn't do all of those by yourself.
That's how you get the people on open homes, we're booking the inspections with them. We try to cater a lot of private inspections too, because we find that is helping in our sales recently in Box Hill or Oakville around the area. So because we do private inspections and it's 1-to-1, and that's actually working pretty good.
Binnie, you're a machine.
Well, you have to work, especially on this market,
That's for sure. Hey, Binnie, all the best with your run-up there to Christmas time, and thanks for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
No problem, Greg. Thank you very much for inviting us.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.